Hey, good evening. I'm really happy to have you here. My name is Daniel. I was a professional opera singer and beatboxer, and tonight we're listening to Diana's take on Take On Me. So, I actually really love the original tune. I've heard many covers of it, and I really dig many of them. So, there's no reason as to why I wouldn't really enjoy this one. I really enjoy Diana's voice, and that mixed with this song, I'm sure is just gonna be really great. But I'm trying to go into this without any enormous expectations, but just based off of what I know from Diana's voice so far, there's no reason for me to believe that it won't be good. So I'm really excited to listen to this, and I hope you guys are as well. So without any further delay, let's just jump into it.
We're talking away.
Oh, right into it.
I don't know what I'm to say. I'm saying anyway.
Woo!
Today's another day to find you. Shine away.
Her voice is magic.
I'll be coming for your love, okay? Take
Oh, that anti-drop.
Take on me. Take me out.
Nice. Woo, it's so soft. Ah. Oh my gosh. Oh, I was not expecting this groove.
Take me
Wow, that was not expected, but still really great. When I think of that song, I think of high energy and really strong belting. But just the way that she approached it, where it was so delicate on the parts where I expect belting, and she was just in her head voice, and just the way that she engaged with so many of the beginnings of musical cadences, it was so delicate and soft, and her vibrato was just so consistent. It was so nice, dude. Her take on this was not what I expected, but you know, that's totally fine. I really digged this style. Let's just jump into this analysis.
We're talking away.
Immediately, she just, right after that initial sound just growing, it's right into the music. In comparison to the original, where you get this musical introduction for a few bars before the vocalist comes in. If you have context for having listened to the original of this piece, then it's a little striking just immediately starting in the lyrics like this. But again, it's a really interesting choice and I dig it.
I don't know what.
And her voice is just so big. There's so much chest, like so much of her sound is resonating in her chest, and that's a real contributing factor as to why her voice is just so satisfying to hear, because she has such a powerful chest voice, and the way that she breathes and allows that breath to resonate. Oh my gosh, it's just so well done. On top of that, in tandem with many other elements, such as the size of her vocal cords and her natural speaking range and all of these things. But outside of that, just the way that she has control over this lower register. It's not very often that you get to listen to someone with such a dynamic range. not just having a really great voice, but having a voice that can be manipulated to different ranges and registers. Like the way that she approaches later segments versus where she is right now, and how she approaches it and has these really beautiful, delicate lines, but also has this very strong and foundational introduction into the piece. She's already building textures, and even though this piece is pretty short at 2 minutes, you're just completely mesmerized by her, because you don't even know what she's building until after she's already ensnared you in her execution of the piece. It's really incredible stuff.
Talking away, I don't know what I'm to say. I'm saying anyway. Today's another day to find you.
I love the way she structures her cadences. They just flow so seamlessly. The way she moves from note to note, there's just a certain weight that she puts on her voice, but it doesn't feel like that weight is affecting her pitch in any way, but it's more like that weight is contributing to the forward push of the tempo. And I'm not saying that the tempo is speeding up or slowing down in any way, but this weight is just ultimately contributing to the flow of the piece, the general sound. Like, let's listen to that again, and I'll try to be a little bit more specific.
Today's another day to find you.
Day to find you. You feel this robust, dominating quality about her voice, but again, it's very light in some ways while being weighted in terms of the overall sound of it, and it just contributes to this very lovely cursive-like momentum that's just being penned audibly. It's just beautiful. It's not very often that I hear a vocalist expertly execute this style of singing, and I really appreciate it from her.
Shine away.
I love that vowel. Shy, not shy, shy. That darkness complements her voice very well, that dark vowel.
Today's another day to find you. Shine away.
Yeah.
I'll be coming for your love, okay?
And she started there with a glottal. I, instead of I. And that glottal, I want to believe, is actually intentional. Where, for those who have been watching some of my other videos, you might know that I comment quite a bit on glottals. And more often than not, I typically prefer more smooth entrances than a glottal. Just adding a silent H before things for I instead of I. But in this particular instance, I actually really dig the glottal. And the reason for that is because in these later sections where she really is delicate and so smooth, having these sharper entrances, like starting on the glottal, but still maintaining this flow-like state, it allows us to engage with this really delicate section coming up in a way that's not so striking because we are acquainted with the smoothness of the piece, but we're getting varying textures where in the beginning it's a little bit more crisp, a little bit more precise, and then in a later section it's much more legato and smooth and flow-like. So having these two different textures being played around each other is actually a really nice sensation audibly. And I really dig the fact that she chose to do that here, so that when we actually do get into that more legato, elegant section, that we feel this contrast, but it's nothing too over dramatic. It just flows so well. I love that.
I'll be coming for your love, okay?
It's just like being washed over by this cool yet warm and comforting wave of audible sound. It's just so wonderful.
Be coming for your love, okay?
I got chills, dude. Her vibrato is so lovely here. It's so consistent and gentle. And the way she says on. On is kind of a weird word to sing in English, especially if English is not your first language, because you would have an ah kind of sound where it would be take on. But right here, she's really rounding that ah vowel to an aw vowel. Take on. And I really love that darkness, that dark quality, because again, darkness to me feels like a cold energy, not a negative one, just a cold one. And it's both chilling, yet, at least for me, it's also comforting. And with that said, just the richness of her voice, even when it's being really light like this, that adds an additional layer of warmth. So I'm getting both cool energies and warm energies, and it's just completely enveloping me. And the sensation is, while a little bizarre, it's just something that I can't help but love. It's really a unique experience listening to her in this way. And like, the more I'm listening to this, the more I'm falling in love with it. And that K was so just gentle, but I still heard it, and I love that. It wasn't just Tay, it was take. And you just get this very gentle close off the K. And you hear the K, but it's so gentle that it's barely audible. And it's so nice. I love the fact that she concluded that word.
For your love, okay, take on me.
Yeah.
Take on me. Take me out. Take on me. I'll be gone.
Ooh, love that. I love that transition of notes there. I'll be... And just having that second note on B to be a beautiful passing tone over to gone. It's so lovely. Yeah. Something I really love there is she has a very lovely belt, and it wasn't as though she was really pushing it or doing anything too big in her belt, but just in that last section where she transitions to more of her head voice and it becomes more breathy, which is intentional in this case. And even though she's not vocalizing it so much because she is trying to maintain a certain atmosphere, a certain very light, very airy, breathy atmosphere, it is still being vocalized, but because of this energy and world that she's building with this particular sound, it just complements the rest of the chorus so well. And that straight tone she had at the end was really well done. The vibrato got a little shaky at the end. It wasn't as consistent as what we've heard from her in this piece so far, but honestly, just because it was so light and delicate and we get this lovely sensation, she never takes us out of this energy, and it still has a very lovely sound quality to it. So ultimately, it's not as though that vibrato was the biggest player in me engaging with this light, airy, just heavenly sensation of cool light being swept over me. It's quite refreshing. I love this. I love this section, really well arranged here. And that being said, she is still maintaining this really light breathiness, and while I still really dig the atmosphere, I do wish that she vocalized it just a little bit more, but that's more of a personal preference. That's not really any fault of anyone. That being said, her atmosphere building here, the way that she's engaging in this particular section, this vocal rift, where she's just maintaining this delicacy, lightness, while kind of going into some jazz themes. I really dig it a lot. Singing jazz is something many musicians really fail to do well if you choose to engage with it. And the reason is because jazz is an exceptionally hard genre of music to pull off. There's misconception that jazz music is just playing wrong notes on chords, and I don't think that could be further from the truth. Like, I think there's an element of improvisation and an element of free-flowing creativity that can happen in jazz music. But overall, when I look at the music, the actual sheet music of jazz, it is incredibly complex. And there's a lot of nuance that goes into jazz, which is why I find it such a compelling genre of music. So, especially on vocalists, where jazz vocalists are either commonly scatting or singing on a particular vowel, or singing on multiple vowels and transitioning between them depending on the flow of the piece. It is so hard to sing jazz because the vocalist is usually alone and is singing either a primary melody or improving or doing their own thing while the band is doing their own thing. And it all comes together to create something truly magical. But to not harmonize or sync directly with the band, it requires not only so much confidence of yourself and your ability to sing either the correct notes or to improvise well, but to do so right in the middle of the pitch. Because if you're a quarter tone flat or a quarter tone sharp outside of what makes sense in a particular style of jazz, that can actually throw off the piece. It's not about playing wrong notes. It's about having your music fit within the context of the jazz. And yes, you actually can play wrong notes in jazz or sing wrong notes in jazz, because just adding a dissonance doesn't mean it's automatically a jazz chord. It means there's a lot of really beautiful elements that come into dissonance, but it has to make sense within the context of the piece. And if it doesn't, it's going to sound very striking, very bizarre, and not in any positive way. So to be able to sing right in the middle of the pitch and have confidence in doing so while your accompaniment or your band is doing their own thing and playing their own rhythms and melodies, and you are just leading this vocal line, that requires a lot of practice, a lot of patience, and a lot of skill and refinement. And Diana's actually doing that very well here. Even though this isn't a jazz piece, these elements that she's taking on are really well done, and I really appreciate this. I want to listen to that part again. It felt like there was a little break in her voice there, and I don't know if that was from a lack of support or a stylistic choice, but it sounded a little weird to me. But I'm not going to complain too much about it, because if it was a stylistic choice, then I think that's fine. If it wasn't a stylistic choice, I still think it's fine. It didn't really take me out of the music that much, but it's a vocal accent that I'm not really adjusted to when listening to this kind of music. So whether it was intentional or not, I think it was really interesting to hear that from a voice. I don't hear that kind of stuff a lot, so really cool, regardless of the intention. Ooh, I love this vowel transition. Just going from this open ah to ooh. It just flowed so well into this new section of the piece, where we're still in the previous section musically, but because there was a vowel transition, we know that there is a new transition coming up on the horizon. And I just really dig the flow and the structure of this piece. Just that play on her passaggio, or that break in her voice. It was so gentle and delicate, and it was just so expertly executed. Let's listen to that again. Ooh, so well done. I want to listen to that just one more time. I apologize. Yeah. I loved the intensity in her voice there. It did feel like there was a little bit of tension in either her breath or in her mandible, her lower jaw, because the breath did feel a little constricted there. It could be because she was leaning backward, and that causes your lungs to contract just a little bit. That causes just to have a little bit of stress on your lungs when you breathe. which can ultimately affect the sound. But just the approach into that really big open sound from being at ooh into this open ah, that was so lovely. I want to listen to that one more time. Yeah, and just having this vocal control, ba-da-da-da-da-da-da. It was just really big and had so much dynamic texture and just this beautiful sound quality. And I love just the openness of her sound. And on top of it, like, look at her right here. She's really feeling her music, and honestly, I do not want to see a performance if a musician is not really feeling their own music. It's like going to a comedy show and the comedian isn't liking their jokes. You know, how can I engage with you if you're not even engaging with you? When you really see the artist feeling and digging their own music and their own sound and really enjoying themselves, then you can enjoy yourselves with them. And it's such a magical sensation and a magical human moment that we can share as an audience member with the artist. I love this. I love this so much. And also, beautiful vocal control. Really great. Something I love about this, and this makes me so happy, is the fact that she's smiling when she sings. And smiling adds not just a certain brightness to a vowel versus take on me versus take on me, and having me versus me, and having that me is just very warm and enveloping. I love that really bright quality. And on top of that bright quality, we get this lovely smile, which is just an incandescent beam of sunlight just radiating down on the piece and on the audience, and it just feels so warm. And this is what I mean earlier from adding these different cool darker tones with these really brighter warmer tones, and just having both of these sensations tantamount to each other. It's just so wonderful having both of these work so well together in the piece. I love this so much. I think that ending note was perfect. She started on this very gentle silent H, grew into the note. It was a beautiful straight tone, flowed right into a beautifully consistent vibrato without losing any of the atmosphere or energy of the tone. Very light, very delicate. It still crescendoed and created more of a mezzo piano from an original pianissimo or piano, or very soft to soft volume into a medium soft volume, and just having total vocal control in this beautiful ending section, and breath control and vowel and pitch refinement. It was just so delicate and wonderful. I absolutely love this. Diana, even though this was a very short piece, this was so well done, and I really digged your take on it. I really digged your style. Your voice is just lovely intrinsically, and I'm excited to hear more from you. Keep up the great work, honestly. I really digged it. Thank y'all so much for watching this video. If y'all liked it, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. And if you didn't like it, please leave a dislike and let me know why in the comments below. I do read all of the comments, even if I may not heart or reply to all of them, so please just know that your comments do not go unnoticed, and I do take them into further consideration as I make future videos. My Patreon is still under development. I'm making a lot of content for it on top of my already busy schedule, so I appreciate your patience, and I'm sure it's going to be worth it when it's actually launched. My live streams are currently Thursdays at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, so if you guys would like to stop by and say hey or ask me any questions about myself or the channel, I'd be more than happy to be there for you guys. I also leave all of the previous previous live streams up on YouTube, so you're more than welcome to check those out as well. I can't tell you how much I appreciate all of you being here. It really does mean a lot to me, and I can't wait to see all of you in the next video. Have a great rest of your evening, everyone.